Hello, everybody. My name is Greg Payne. I do apologize. This video is a day late. I got my days mixed up, but regardless, I want to share with you guys about my most recent communication skills assessment page that we recently submitted. I answered the question regarding to what are some ways that I can tell how or aspects of my communication that I feel I excel in, as well as what are some areas that I feel I can better develop. One of the things that I talked about in my paper extensively was first and foremost, do your research. Make sure that when you're doing your whatever you're going to communicate about, whether you're giving a speech or just talking to someone, kind of have some background knowledge and do that research that'll help you out. For instance, if I was communicating to somebody from Cincinnati, where I currently reside, this ensemble that I'm wearing right now with my Cleveland Brown sweatshirt would definitely be something that's going to automatically turn whoever I'm communicating with kind of off, especially if they're a local Cincinnati sports fan. And so, not to say that I can't embrace my pride, but that's also just knowing that if I'm going to communicate with somebody, me wearing a rival or something like that might be something that is off putting to them. Alternatively, if I wear like my Michigan jersey, because you know what, I don't have to be a Cleveland fan. There's a lot of schools in Cincinnati, whether UC, Xavier, things like that. So this might still, but the fact that there are a lot of Ohio State fans within dominating the Ohio region, even though we're in Cincinnati, this might not offend as many people, but it also could get to the point where there's a lot of visceral love hate between the Michigan Ohio State rivalry. So this might not do it as well. Alternatively, if I'm communicating with somebody from Cincinnati, you know, the Reds, where this is the Cincinnati Tigers, the Negro League for Cincinnati, but at least, you know, wearing this is going to be a lot more off putting. So when I talk about in the original paper that I wrote, it's making sure that you're communicating or making sure you're knowing the audience that you're talking to, which will serve you huge throughout life. It's simply if I know that I'm giving a speech to a bunch of teachers as opposed to a bunch of lawyers, that would change the lingo that I'm using. If I'm speaking to, you know, blue collar individuals as opposed to white collar individuals, I might tailor my delivery. I might tailor, you know, the speech I use just to help create an environment that's going to be well received. Second thing that I always focus on when I'm doing that, not only just doing that background work of knowing my audience, but also getting to the point that you have a good understanding and can pivot and read other people's cues. Because certain things, especially when we're talking about like paraverbal and nonverbal, if I get to a thing and just sometimes my posturing, so if I'm sitting there and I'm folding my arms, creating like the authoritarian, this is off putting where it kind of closes me off and makes the individual feel as if maybe I don't care what they're talking about. Or the Superman pose kind of gives me an authoritative or I'm holier than thou, I'm mightier than thou presence. So sometimes not only being aware of how I'm carrying my body, as well as certain things like the tone of speech or the cadence that I'm using. I have a lot of family that's down south. So they talk with a little slower draw, but that's just being aware. Because if I talk as if I need you to open to page 3 and read the first paragraph, that can come off to the individual I'm communicating with. Maybe I think they're remedial or slow, that I need to dumb it down, so to speak, or talk at a slower language that they can speak. And alternatively, hurry up, open your book to page 3, make sure that you're turning everything in, and I talk at a very quick pace. Maybe that makes the person I'm communicating feel as if they're rushed or if there are things like that. So I want to be aware of not only my paraverbals and my nonverbals, but I also want to read my audience's verbals. If I get perplexed looks, maybe that means I need to take a second to be able to back it up and make sure that I'm explaining in a way that I'm not going to lose them for the rest of whatever we're talking about. If I'm getting the bored look or them looking at their watch, maybe it's okay, I'm wasting their time. So not only am I communicating and being aware of what I'm visibly putting out to everybody, but I also want to be able to receive the messages that are inside of what they're saying. As a trainer for the past 7 years with my nonprofit agency, that's something that I naturally do. But also on that flip side is that I'm always looking to get better. And so there's aspects that there's times I want to communicate something, but because I am reading that people are confused and I'm taking that extra time to at least educate so they're all on the same page, I also sometimes sacrifice time at the end that I didn't have because I had to alter my speech. So, one of the big things that always helps for me is I do a lot of practices. I'll call in my peers, I'll call in colleagues, I'll call in my wife sometimes, and be able to run or role play a speech or some lesson or lecture that I'm about to prepare, run it through a couple people, and I make sure that I vary the group that I'm with. Maybe some people who are experts in the area, some people who don't know what I'm talking about, so that when I can pick up when I might lose somebody, it gives me an opportunity of kind of building in, okay, if I need to explain this, then let me figure out where I can save some time elsewhere. So if I know it takes me 3 minutes to better explain this, where can I free up 3 minutes? So if I do this in real life, it allows me that time to pivot. So I hope this video is helpful. The things I would love to know, what are some things that you all do that kind of help you all make sure you're reading the room? If you're reading somebody, for instance, isn't understanding something, how do you go about reading their cues and pivoting? And then secondly, I always love to find out how people do some background research to, learn about the audience that they're doing, whether it's questionnaires and things like that. Those are always helpful for me, especially for somebody who trains for a living. Thank you guys, and I look forward to your responses.